Welcome back to Morning Joe. Joining us now, former Republican governor of Ohio and former presidential candidate John Kasich. He's out today with a new book called It's Up to Us, 10 Little Ways We Can Bring About Big Change. Governor, it's great to see you.
Thank you, Willie.
Congratulations on the book. It's an antidote to everything we've been talking about all morning. It's not about politics necessarily.
No, it's not. It's a handbook for people to get their power back and to realize that that they matter, that they're special, that they can live a life bigger than themselves and change the world. Because power, Willie, doesn't come from the top down, it comes from the bottom up.
Yep.
And when people in their neighborhoods decide to do things, that's what America's all about, not about all this other politics and we can't this and that. I mean, that stuff matters, but what really matters is what we do where we live and that we're made special and we have gifts and we need to use them.
Amen to that. And we're going to talk about the book in just a minute. I do want to ask you about some of the news of the day as we watch this impeachment inquiry go on. I saw an interview the other day with CNN where you sort of talked to some of your Republican friends and colleagues, people you serve with in the Congress, and said, look yourself in the mirror. What do you see? Do you like what you see? Are you comfortable with what the things you're doing and saying? What did you mean by that?
Well, look, your job is to be an American and to call them like you see them, not to be a member of a political party and take your orders from some party boss or live in fear that somebody in your district or in your state is going to come out against you because you're not toeing the line with Donald Trump. I mean, what amazes me, Willie, is most of these questions are not should there be an impeachment inquiry, which I think there definitely has to be. But do you think it was wrong for the president to call up a leader of another country to dig up dirt on his political opponent? And they can't even answer that question. It's bizarre to me. So what are they going to think when their kid says to them, Daddy, what do you do? What are they supposed to say? I'm wearing a red uniform and that's the way it goes. You should be wearing a red, white, and blue uniform and remembering that it is your reputation is all you have in Washington. If you want to have a friend, buy a dog. And the other thing you need to do is look in the mirror and just think about how you want to be thought of yourself and to others.
And that's a question, Governor, we ask on this show almost every day. It's a very simple question. Are you okay with the president going to a foreign leader and asking for a personal favor?
Well, they won't answer the question.
So, but why? Help people at home understand. Why? Let's take Ron Johnson, for example, on Meet the Press.
Yeah.
Why does he, when asked that direct yes or no question, go into conspiracy theories? Is it to protect his job? Is the job that important to him?
Yes,
that's all it is.
Well, when you get in those jobs, you think you've got to stay in them, and you're afraid of what's going to happen because when you're in them, the spotlight is on you. Willie, and you know this, and you understand the ins and outs of being in the spotlight, and you handle it right. But a lot of people, when they get in the spotlight, they don't want to leave it. It's almost like an addiction. So if I'm a senator or something, God, I got to continue to be a senator, even though there's life after Congress. Think about our buddy Scarborough. I mean, he knows what life's all about.
Worked out okay, yeah.
Yeah, it worked out great for him. It's working out great for me. And the point is, Willie, they get so caught up and they don't want to make these other people angry. Listen, you've got to lead when you're a United States Senator. You've got to lead when you're a congressman. You don't need to follow. Have a little courage. And it goes for both sides. For example, I think there ought to be an impeachment inquiry in the House, a full inquiry, just like we did during the Clinton administration. But, Democrats, if you ask them, should there be an inquiry, they're like, well, I don't know about that. I just saw a congressman in a green room the other day. I don't know about that. Well, just answer the question, man. Be fair. Let the facts come out and determine where we're going.
Let me ask you about the state you've represented for so long, both as a congressman and, of course, as governor. Ohio, Donald Trump won by 8 points last time around. A lot of the head-to-head polling, take it for what it's worth, shows both Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders running neck and neck. Can a Democrat take the state of Ohio from Donald Trump in 2020?
Well, I think it's possible, but if they're going to spend their time bashing Donald Trump, I don't think that's going to get it. I think it's all, well, you know what it's about. It's about my health care costs are through the roof. It's about the fact that my wages aren't going up, or I don't have a job, or how can I have security in my job. It's all the table issues. It's not, I mean, yeah, you can talk about Trump and what he represents, but it's bigger than that. It's about what happens at the dinner table, at home with your family, and how do you feel about somebody who could be in to improve your life. You got to speak to those issues.
Is there one candidate or another, Governor, as you talk to people in Ohio, who they're more excited about Democratic candidate? Is it Joe Biden? Is it Elizabeth Warren? Is it Bernie Sanders?
Well, look, most of the time in Ohio right now, if you're in Cleveland, you're excited about the Browns, and if you're in Columbus, you're excited about Ohio State.
Ohio State more than the
Browns. You know, we get in a bubble, Willie. We think that people are paying all this attention, and they're really not. I mean, it's just people right now are not really focused on that. It's the fall. We're going to change the clocks pretty soon. The time changes. It's getting cold. The kids are off to school. That's where we have to live as leaders. We have to live with those families, not something that is not connected to them. That's really what the book's about.
Your old buddy Joe Scarborough has a question for you. Joe?
And you are right, Governor. There is life after Congress. I used to be in Congress. Now I'm a Little League baseball coach. So things do
and
get better.
And a good one.
Thank you so much.
John,
Mika, you're just biased. I can't believe that.
She is.
Yeah.
She is. So John, let me ask you. I was just talking last hour about the reason I got to Congress. I've told this story before, but I was watching you and Tim Penny, a Republican and a Democrat, get on the House floor, talk about the deficit, talk about the exploding national debt. And I mean, you and I, that was our thing in Congress. We were Republicans. We were small government Republicans. We believed in less spending. We believed in balanced budgets. We believed in free trade. We believed in standing up to Russia. I could go on and on. We believed in NATO. We believed that you were friends to your friends and you were tough to your enemies. So it remains a great mystery to me how the same people that voted for you and the same people that voted for me not so long ago now support a party that has record debt, record deficits, puts up tariff taxes on working class and middle class Americans and farmers, basically obsequious to Kim Jong-un, obsequious to Vladimir Putin. Like, dude, if I had a Democrat running against me that took those positions, I would have won with 99% of the vote. What has happened? I'm not talking about Trump. What's happened to this party as far as just small government, free market conservatism?
I can't figure it out, Joe. I mean, I don't know what happened, but it isn't a party that we joined. It's not a party we're comfortable with, and we either have to reshape the party or we've got some big questions to ask ourselves about our future in that party. I will tell you that I'm very disturbed with the fact that the Democrats are going, Mika, forgive me here, but going hard left, and I don't like to see them wanting to take away people's private health insurance. But, Joe, let's go back to when you came into Congress, and let's talk about the class you came in with, and let's talk about you. We didn't put up with the status quo. If we had to fight our leaders, including a Republican president, we did it because we believed in certain things, and we shaped the party, and we stood up, and we had courage, and the class that you came in with changed everything. And we were very successful for a while, but you might recall, I mean, you'd gone and I was gone. Remember, we began to see it falling apart. They were not interested in the principles we had when we were there. So it takes people, frankly, like you and others like you to stand up and say enough. But I don't know where they are, Joe. It's like they disappeared. They lost their voice. I mean, it's crazy.
It is unbelievable. Again, a $22 trillion debt. Big, massive deficits, and again,
it's going to hammer our kids, Joe. You know that. You cannot keep bringing up this debt. And you know, we used to say we got to balance the budget and have surpluses for our kids, and now it's like I've got to take care of me and make everybody happy by playing Santa Claus and spending our kids' money. It's crazy.
Well, and the crazy thing is the definition of what conservative Bob Costa has changed under John Kasich. The Republican Party balanced the budget for the first time in a generation. They balanced it 4 years in a row.
He expanded Medicaid.
For the first time since the 1920s. That's the only time that's happened in 100 years. And yet, the definition of conservatism is not that. The definition of conservatism is, will you follow Trump off the cliff to support Putin? Will you follow Trump off the cliff to not protect democracy against foreign interference? Will you? It's just the most bizarre thing for small government conservatives.
With all that said, Governor, I can't remember anyone having as much fun on the campaign trail as watching you in New Hampshire in 2015, 2016. Here's the question. Is there any chance in the coming months you decide to jump into that race in the New Hampshire primary?
Yeah, only if I have a chance to win. I mean, that's
What does that
it's
mean,
all
Governor?
about.
What does that mean?
Win the election. That's not. What do you mean? What does it
Why
mean?
not?
I'm not interested in being
Why
in
not
some
just
kind
win
of,
Why not just win the New Hampshire primary? Try to compete in the New Hampshire
First of all,
primary.
you know this, Bob. You know, people who have the resources to fund you, because right now I'd have to take a Greyhound bus to New Hampshire, because people don't want to make a winner, they want to be with a winner. And, you know, right now, with 80+% of Republicans supporting Donald Trump, there's no path. And so I don't want to be in a demolition derby or just go out and make a statement. That's not what I want to do. If I get
So what's
back,
your hard date? What's your hard date on a decision?
I will let you. You're going to be one of the first 5 million to know. I'll let you know. But it's not now because, look, Robert, why don't you ask me about, listen, I have this book, and here's wait a minute, I want to just explain this to you.
I interviewed you a few months ago. You said foreign policy is one of your key issues. You have a Syria crisis for many Republicans on your hands, and you're still saying you can't give me a timeline on a decision.
What is this? Are we connecting Syria to a timeline? I want to make a comment to you.
It's a major moment. It's a
Listen,
major
this
policy
book,
moment.
hold on, because you guys aren't getting this. This book I've written has nothing to do with politics. It has to do, Joe Scarborough, with bottom up, Mika, bottom up, that the power, civil rights, women's suffrage all came from the people to the top. It's all about people taking power, not just wringing their hands and watching these national elections. It's about what you do where you live. And when we understand that, that's how people get their power back. And the book is replete with examples of folks out there that live next door to us who've changed the world. So that's where my attention is right now. This is not on, going to run for office again. Right. Look at Joe's voice. And I have a pretty good voice, too. I enjoy what I'm doing right now.
Nice
we'll
voice.
see.
It's a good voice. So Willie, he's got a book out.
Yes, he does. And I promised you we were going to get to it. We just got a bunch of people. So let's get into the book. It's called It's Up to Us, 10 Little Ways We Can Bring About Big Change. You kind of get to something at the heart of what I think is missing in some ways over the last couple of generations, which is know your neighbor. Know the people in your church, your synagogue. Go to the bowling alley. All these sort of civic institutions that build things from the ground up.
But do things, too. You know, in the book, Greta Thunberg, before we ever heard of her, I was talking about a 15-year-old that just took a sign and stood outside the parliament, and she created a worldwide movement now when it comes to environmental awareness. Or, for example, a little girl from Illinois that decided that her name was Florence, and she knew the storm was coming up the coast, and she thought Florence is my name, and I don't want people to think badly of me. So she said, Mom, I got to go out and collect bandages. And by the time she was done, they had a garage full of supplies that got sent to North Carolina. She changed the world. We can all change the world, Willie, and that's what makes America great. Not just arguments at the dinner table and I hate Trump, I love Trump. That's just, it's who you are. You're made, nobody's ever been like you, Willie, and no one will be like you or Joe or Mika again. The question is, with those gifts, what are you doing to make a difference?
And isn't this a statement about not what's happening, as you say, on TV or on Twitter or the outrage of the day, but what's going on in people's lives every day?
Exactly.
And the decisions they will make about politics because of that.
Yeah, and I think we have to realize people sometimes feel daunted about the fact that it's just little old me, and what can I do? Oh, you can do a lot of things to make the world a better place. My goal is that when I die, at least 70% of what they say about me when they talk about me will be true.
70%. I don't know how you arrived at that number, but I think that's a good shot.
Maybe 80. Okay.
Well, the book is called It's Up to Us, 10 Little Ways We Can Bring About Change. It is out today. Governor John Kasich.
So much fun to be with you.
Great to see you. And Bob Costa will be waiting for your call.
Joe and, Costa. He'll be one of the first 5 million.
Governor, thanks. Great to see you. Coming up next on Morning Joe, Independent Senator Angus King of Maine will be our guest. We're coming right back.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.